I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
This is Snowman in the Morning, and it begins now.
That's a spicy meatball!
Need a little excitement?
Excuse me, bitch?
You know what? That makes me mad.
I ask myself, is it worth it? I answer myself, yes, it is worth it.
Did you not get the memo?
Hey, Cleveland Cavaliers, did you not get the memo? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm starting way too early. The heck with it. Good morning! And away we go on this late morning edition of Snowman in the Morning. I originally was not going to come on today. I really wasn't. But I got inspired by some kids as I'm here on the road. We'll be back in Chicago, our hometown, next week. And we're going to have a lot of fun when we get back home. But we're on the road for this week, talking NBA Finals, talking Stanley Cup Finals, a little baseball. On this Express edition, you'll hear a conversation that I had with Tonio Jackson, talking entrepreneurship. And speaking of the NBA Finals, you hear a conversation I had some time back with one Cliff Levingston, who, of course, played on the Chicago Bulls teams of 91 and 92, and he won 2 championships with them. You'll hear all that through the course of this Express edition. We are presented in part by Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. And the first of our big announcements, we want to tell you we're gonna welcome a new affiliate to our growing network that is carrying the show. And I lost my read. See, that's what I get for not having all of my stuff in front of me. Our new affiliate is KNHB Radio out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They are picking up the morning show. We are also streamed by 3 and Out Radio, also streamed by the Lake County Sports Network back in our hometown. And if you want to be an affiliate or a sponsor of this here show, drop an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. And for the fans, if you want to support the show and really get it going, and I will do all that I can to keep it going, why don't you drop an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. My homie Michael Lyle out in the tri-state area out east giving us a listen. So thank you very much for all of you that have supported the show over 5 years. I know what my downfalls are, and I'm going to correct them as we go. You can call this the final relaunch because I plan to be on 5 days a week, and beginning tomorrow, we're going to shift from 11 a.m. to an early bird version of 8 a.m. Eastern. That's where I had the most success the first 3 years. That's what we're going to go with, despite any kind of circumstance that could come our way. So, Mike, strap in, buddy. Here we go. Did y'all see what happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers last night? An absolute fourth quarter destruction by one Stephen Curry on his way to a game-high 33 points and also on his way to a record-setting 9 3-point field goals in an NBA Finals game as the Golden State Warriors took care of the Cleveland Cavaliers 122 to 103. And the Warriors now lead 2-0. This is the third straight year that the Warriors have gone up 2-0. Let me go in on the Golden State Warriors for just a minute. This particular season is what I am going to focus on for this opening segment. So I want y'all to take a listen with me, okay? A lot of people will not believe me when I say this, but this has been the toughest season for the Golden State Warriors in the midst of their reign as defending NBA champions. What do I mean? I mean this. They've had to deal with a lot of missed time from their 4 All-Stars. I'm talking about Kevin Durant. I'm talking about Draymond Green. Of course, I'm talking about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, a.k.a. the Splash Brothers. They were second in the West for the first time in 4 years, because Houston got the top seed with their 65-win season, and of course the Warriors beat Houston in the Western Conference Final, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. But why do I say this has been the toughest year for the Golden State Warriors? All the time that's missed by their four big stars, the players that have had to come together and develop quickly in the absence of their four major stars, and every kind of lineup that Steve Kerr could come up with. And still, they won 58 games. They finished second in the West, and they still were the first team to clinch their division, despite everything that happened. Let me say that again. They were the first team to clinch their division this year, when they ran away with the Pacific Division for a fourth consecutive season. This is absolutely unheard of. Where does the credit go? Start at the top. Start at the top with the management on down to Coach Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr, as a coach, had to navigate through these difficult waters. And there have been several times that people have labeled the Golden State Warriors franchise dead throughout the course of this season, when they would lose a star for a significant amount of time. And all four of their stars were gone for a very significant amount of time. But this is what separates teams like Golden State in this era, the Chicago Bulls of the 90s, the Lakers of the 80s, and the Celtics for that matter, and the Boston Celtics of the 60s and part of the 70s, and the Spurs of the early 2000s. What separates teams like this from the pack is when they have a bench that is so deep, and an organization with a belief that is so deep that the next man up can fill in with no problem. Give you another example. Stephen Curry was lost on March 11th for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Enter Quinn Cook. No one knew who in the hell Quinn Cook was. I certainly didn't. And then you saw him play. And then you saw him run the floor and run the point as effectively as possible. This is a rookie we're talking about that had stepped in for an injured All-Star and injured two-time MVP and played the position just as well as Stephen Curry did. This is what you don't understand about this culture that's being built in Oakland. This is what a lot of people don't understand about the culture and the belief from everybody in that organization. When a setback happens, a comeback is ready. Who would have expected Nick Young, Swaggy P, to ride the bench, do it happily, and be 2 wins away from an NBA championship? Who would have expected Klay Thompson to hit the backbreaker against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Christmas Day without Stephen Curry available to them? Who would have expected Jordan Bell, a rookie out of Oregon, to have the impact that he has had? Kevon Looney, in his third year out of UCLA, for him to have the impact that he has had. Who would have expected? Are you ready for this one, ladies and gentlemen? A fellow that I saw play high school ball at Hales Franciscan in Chicago. You know him well, JaVale McGee, who has made all kinds of Shaqtin' errors, be the impact player that he has become. Does he still have his Shaqtin' moments? Of course he does. Of course he does. But at the same time, when he arrived in the Bay, it just seemed like overnight he's transformed himself into one of the most impact players the Warriors have ever had. And remember, this is a franchise that had Run TMC, Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin, and Tim Hardaway. This is a team that had Chris Webber once upon a time. This is a team that had the We Believe team, Baron Davis, Steven Jackson, Monte Ellis, Andres Beatrice, Jason Richardson, coached by Don Nelson. This Warriors team, no matter what the setback, has had a loyal fan base. They finally get loyal management because this was a badly run team for a long time, a very long time. This was a badly run team. And now, here they sit on the verge of 3 championships in 4 years. Here they sit. Here they sit, ladies and gentlemen, on, in my humble opinion, what should be a four-peat. What should be a four-peat. Now, I've said all along, I do not like this era of NBA basketball. I've said it all along. I admitted to it, but I do have the teams that I follow faithfully, and there are 3, the Chicago Bulls, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Golden State Warriors, to a point where someone actually challenged my fandom. And then when I told them when I became a fan of the Golden State Warriors and why, they've had nothing to say to me, and that was a year ago. But this culture that is being built, and I say being built because you just have the feeling there's more coming from this team in the coming years. The great Paul Pierce said it best. We are on the precipice of seeing not just the Golden State Warriors, but the Golden Empire. That is what is happening right now. The Golden Empire is being built. Is being built. You have to wonder how much longer can this go on and how good this Golden State Warrior team can be. And again, for how long? And I've said it all throughout the playoffs. I've said it all throughout the playoffs. The challenge from San Antonio, the challenge from New Orleans, and the challenge from Houston. Until someone unseats the Warriors in a 7-game series, it is the Warriors' championship to lose. And considering the way they have been playing lately, oh, and I didn't even mention one of the biggest cogs on defense. They've lost Andre Iguodala. Lord knows how bad it would have been last night if Andre would have been playing and playing defense on LeBron James. Lord knows how bad the blowout would have gotten if you get 20 points from Andre Iguodala. Lord knows how bad it would have gotten if the ball was able to hop around and cycle around on offense with Iguodala in the lineup. Not to say that it didn't hop around and cycle around like Warriors basketball we've come to see and come to know. You still have a chance. You absolutely still have a chance to see what's basically becoming a dynasty. And they're doing it in y'all's faces. And until somebody beats them in a series, they have nothing to say. Period. Snowman of the Morning brought to you in part by Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. The summer is approaching, and if you want to get yourself in the best shape of your life, you got to start with a great diet, some good exercise habits, and you got to add Cleaver Supplements into the equation. They help you get back in shape, and they help you maintain your shape for the best part of the summer. Give them a call, give them a look, I should say, at Cleaver Supplements, Kliewer supplements.com. Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. Just getting started here on Snowman in the Morning. And I got something that pertains to this particular final series. And it goes like this. Last night, I never thought I would say this, but last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers quit. What, you didn't hear me? Let me say it again. Last night in Game 2, the Cleveland Cavaliers quit. They quit. When you have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 soul-snatching shots in one quarter that has Tyronn Lue waving the white flag and putting in his bench mob with less than 5 minutes remaining, not only did you surrender the game, you surrendered the series. I believe the Cleveland Cavaliers, with the move that Tyronn Lue made last night, have surrendered the series. They go back to Cleveland Wednesday and Friday, and I think this series will be completed on Friday with a 4-game sweep. It kind of reminds you of the Lakers and Nets from 2002. The Nets had no business coming out of the East, and yet they came out of the East, defeated Boston in 6 games, and challenged the mighty Lakers for the World Championship, and promptly got their asses handed to them in 4 games. Well, that's what's happening right now. Let's go to Game 1. Let's go back to Game 1 and take a full review of the first 2 games of this year's NBA Finals. Let's go right to the fourth quarter. You know what happened. If you didn't see it, you've been living under a rock, or you didn't see any of the highlights. But J.R. Smith committed probably the biggest blunder in basketball. The absolute biggest blunder in basketball when he didn't recognize time nor score and dribbled most of the remaining clock out after getting an offensive rebound. Now, the optimists, the Cleveland Cavalier optimists, have all said, no one's going to say anything about J.R. Smith getting an offensive rebound. Yeah, here's the problem. He didn't do anything with it. He dribbled out the clock. He basically dribbled out the clock and gave the Golden State Warriors 5 more minutes to breathe. And as soon as he gave the Warriors 5 more minutes to breathe, the Warriors seized the advantage, took control, and won by 10. That took the heart out of Cleveland. What happened last night was an utter destruction and a soul-snatching game. The Cavaliers kept hanging around and hanging around and hanging around. And you had the feeling that LeBron James was going to take over at any moment in time. You had the feeling, it was in your gut, after an incredible 51-point performance that he had on Thursday night and nearly pulling off the upset of upsets, which is winning in Oakland with a ragtag team. With a ragtag team, mind you. They allowed the Golden State Warriors 5 more minutes to breathe. And as soon as they gave them 5 more minutes to breathe, the Warriors said, we're done playing around. Let's put these boys away. And that's exactly what they did in overtime, outscoring the Cavaliers 17-7. It kind of reminds you what happened in Game 1 in 2015 when the Warriors were toying around with the Cavaliers, and then they got to overtime and the Warriors simply blew the doors off of them in the extra 5 minutes. So that blunder by J.R. Smith, I believe, has set the stage for the remainder of the finals. What happened last night, and I said it in a Facebook Live video that I did last night and this morning, I have never, ever, ever seen LeBron James look so pedestrian in my life. Yeah, he put up the numbers, but think of the way he put up the numbers. They were very, very quietly. He didn't have that, for lack of a better term, sledgehammer impact. He did not have that sledgehammer impact that he had on Thursday night, where he was all over the place, where he actually, I believe he played, I want to say he played all 53 minutes on Thursday. On Sunday, not even close to playing an entire game. He kept his team in it for as long as he could. Lord knows he kept his team in it for as long as he could. George Hill came out aggressive. J.R. Smith, same thing. Kevin Love, same thing. But the energy ran out of his supporting cast. And again, it fell on LeBron James, as unfair as it is, for him to carry the load for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I blame LeBron for this mentally because he wanted the challenge and he hasn't fully accepted it. Now, granted, they have a chance to go home and right the ship and come back to California with a tie series or at least get one in Cleveland. If Cleveland wants to return to California, they're going to have to get at least one, if not pull the impossible and tie the series. I don't see it happening. I think this series ends in Cleveland. And while I'm busy talking about last night's incredible performance, what about the performance of one Stephen Curry in the fourth quarter? He had 17 at the end of 3 periods, and he looked very pedestrian. He was as spry as a 16-year-old playing basketball for either the first or second time on varsity, yes. But that fourth quarter, where he hit impossible shot after impossible shot, setting up teammates, getting Draymond Green to the hole, Kevon Looney, Sean Livingston, getting everybody involved. Now you've seen the former 2-time MVP, who could very well, if he continues to play the way that he's playing, be the MVP of this year's finals. And the crazy part is, and I've said this all year, even with the Warriors being the first to clinch their division, even with the Warriors getting the number 2 seed and having to face Houston on the road in the Western Conference Finals, even given all of that, the injury to Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson with a high ankle sprain, even given all of that, Stephen Curry last night just may have played himself into a series MVP. Now, I would make the argument that he should have gotten it 3 years ago, but given the way that Andre Iguodala played defense against LeBron James, I cannot argue the selection for Andre Iguodala. I cannot argue that selection, nor will I argue that selection. But at the same time, Stephen Curry redeemed himself last year for a pedestrian finals in 2016. And the way he's starting now, 28 in game 1, 33 last night, if he comes up with another, what's the popular term, God mode type performance in Cleveland in one, if not both of the games in Cleveland, this series is over. This series is absolutely done. And you can't tell me otherwise. Let's take a look at a few more things that made Game 2 an absolute smash fest. Klay Thompson suffered a high ankle sprain in Game 1 when he got his ankle rolled up on. He had a significant limp for a while, a very significant limp. And he still helped the Dubs win Game 1. And in Game 2 last night, he was dropping threes like flies. He had 5 of them, finished with 20 points. He finished with 20 points. And if the Cavaliers, my good buddy Robert Cobb, the man in charge of the Inscriber magazine, said it best before the game even started. The Cavs had to steal Game 2 after what in some people's eyes looked like the referee stole Game 1 on that controversial block charge reversal. Now let me tell you something. I looked at that play 100 times. I looked at that play 100 times in Game 1, and the referees absolutely did the correct thing in reversing the call, and here is why. LeBron James, yes, was outside of the restricted area, but his body was turned, part A. Part B, he was not in a legal guarding position because his body was turned. And part C, he did not attempt to make a play on the ball. Therefore, that is a blocking foul. It was correctly reversed, and Durant nailed both free throws. That was absolutely the correct call. And the referees, give them credit. Give them credit. No one knew what to call. Initially, the call on the floor was a charge against Durant. It was a charge against Durant. But the referees were so unsure, and at a critical juncture, they had to get the call right. And they did. It was indeed a blocking foul on LeBron, and Durant was awarded 2 free throws correctly. He sank them both. And then all hell broke loose with George Hill after Stephen Curry hit a 3-point play to put the Warriors up by 1. LeBron James, who I thought should have driven to the basket with the time running down and the ball in his hand. I think LeBron James should have put his head down and charged to the basket. He was getting to the basket all night. But he elected to pass because he saw a wide-open George Hill who was thrown down by Klay Thompson. Hill had a chance to win the game. He split both free throws. And then J.R. Smith did what he did, which brings me back to my earlier point. You allowed the Warriors a chance to breathe for 5 extra minutes, and the Warriors got pissed off and said, let's finish this right now, and they did. And after last night's performance, the Golden Empire just may have finished the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game 3 set for Wednesday at Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland. And I'll tell you right now, if the Cavaliers do not win Game 3, if they don't find some way to snatch Game 3 on Wednesday, then I'm saying this here and now, it's going to be a Friday night party for the Golden Empire in Cleveland. Because there's no way the Cleveland Cavaliers will win Game 4. Even if they got as hot as they could, as they did last year in Game 4, in what happened to be a blowout of the Warriors. But all they did was prevent the inevitable. All they did was prevent the inevitable. And I really believe the inevitable this time will come in the form of a 4-game conquest. It just makes you wonder if that Draymond Green suspension, were it not to happen, if the Warriors would have been playing for a 4-peat. I really believe the NBA had something to do with that suspension 2 years ago, and I will take that to my grave. I really believe the NBA was in cahoots with the Cleveland Cavaliers to... Hey, you hear this? All this announcement by me? I think the NBA was in conjunction with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and whoever opened their mouth and put Draymond Green's foot in it. If that not have happened, this would be a 4-peat. I said it, and I meant it. And I will continue to mean it. And you can't tell me that wouldn't have been true. Take a pause for a break, and when we come back, you'll hear the voice of one Toneel Jackson, who had a chance to join me sometime back talking authorpreneurship. And not only talking authorpreneurship, but following your dream and never giving up. Something I've had to learn several times over. Snowman in the morning, back in Faux.
This is the king of Connecticut, the suntan Superman himself, the one and only Matt Granahan, telling you about the one and only Arena Sports Network, the place where every fan has a voice and every team has a fan.
Hey fans, spring is here and Cleaver Supplements invites you to spring into action to get in the best shape of your life. Our supplements and products will help you do just that. You had a good winter season, and now it's time to show off and keep that great shape, great attitude, and work on getting even better for your life. Our Fat Burner, Super Swole Serum, and other products will keep you on track to a healthier and happier you. Do it for your family, do it for your friends, but most of all, do it for you. For more information, visit us online at cleaversupplements.com. Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough.
It doesn't matter if you dominate the lane or dazzle in the distance run. It doesn't matter how quick you are off the blocks or how far your curveball drops off the table. It doesn't matter if you're all-area, all-state, or a high school All-American. And it really doesn't matter as long as you play the game with integrity, by respecting your opponent and officials, following the rules, and practicing sportsmanship. It isn't always easy, but it's the only way to play. If you can be a good sport, if you can treat your opponent the way you'd like to be treated, then it doesn't matter if you have a rocket for an arm, a cannon for a serve, or a vertical leap to the sky. You'll always be a champion. Sportsmanship. Are you up for the challenge?
This message has been brought to you by the Illinois High School Association, celebrating more than 100 years of high school sports and activities in Illinois. Challenge yourself.
Welcome to the Butcher Box. Our beef is exactly the way that nature intended. 100% grass-fed and grass-finished, antibiotic and hormone-free, and never taken from feedlots. Just 100% healthy meat. We offer 2 to 5 day delivery to the contiguous 48 states. The meat is flash frozen at the peak of freshness, packed with dry ice, and shipped directly to your door. The beef is sourced from a collection of small grass-fed farms. It is of the utmost quality and tastes incredible. Our steak won a blind taste test cook-off with the Today Show in 2015. So for 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef, organic chicken, and heritage-bred pork delivered for free on your schedule for less than $6 per meal, visit arenasportsnet.com and click on the Butcher Box logo, and if you do so, you will receive 10% off your first order, or give Butcher Box a call at 855-981-8568.
Some energy drinks want to scare you. Some even want to bully you around. And the others, they're just blowing smoke. Packed with vitamins B3, B5, B6, and B12, the new HiQ energy drink comes available in 4 exciting flavors. Skyberry Fusion, Apple, Coconut Fruit Punch, and Lemon Lime. Natural caffeine, no preservatives, no crash, no bull. HiQ energy drink. Wings are for birds.
This is the King of Connecticut, Matt Granahan. And there's a new sheriff in town and a new king of morning talk. So move over, Howard Stern, Brian Snow, the Snowman. Snowman in the morning. Catch the show every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
Hadouken! That's a spicy meatball!
Snowman in the Morning on this Monday edition, 35 beyond the hour. Got to Neil Jackson coming in just a bit. Also a classic conversation with Cliff Livingston, who was the member of 2 championship teams, both the Chicago Bulls. A couple texts came in during the break. My homie Michael Lyle tuning in from Connecticut, and he said, great points, and yes, series is done, son. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Tomorrow I'm going to talk NHL Stanley Cup Finals. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals? Who the hell told these 2 teams to go at it? They're going at it tonight in Game 4 in Washington, D.C., and I nearly said the Capitol Center. I know Michael will appreciate that. Let me stay on the NBA playoffs for just a minute. In particular, There's a couple of players this year, and Michael Lyle, you're going to love this. There's a couple of players this year that have been hyped up and were very disappointing in my humble opinion. And those players are Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Now, it's very, very possible. It's very possible that James Harden of the Houston Rockets will be elected this year's most valuable player. And I'm not saying he didn't have a good season. But as far as James Harden and Russell Westbrook go, they should not even sniff the MVP award. They shouldn't. I'm going to tell you why I believe Russell Westbrook and James Harden should not even give a sniff of the MVP award. And this is why I hate the MVP award being decided during the regular season. Why don't they do what the NHL does and award the most valuable player after the playoffs, after the championship has been clinched? But I digress, and that's a rant for another day. Oh, you know who else is a finalist? LeBron James. Ho ho! They're going to put this on a silver platter for me. My homie Victor Locke tuning in from our hometown of Chicago. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and LeBron James, in my opinion, are nothing but stat padders. All they do is pad their stats so they can look good, so they can present themselves an MVP case. And in the meantime, they're not helping their teams. In the meantime, especially James Harden. And I feel bad for the Houston Rockets spending all the money that they had on Chris Paul. And Chris Paul does what he always does. He comes up injured in a big game. The only time I hadn't seen him injured was Game 7 in the first round against San Antonio. But that's the first round. This is the Western Conference Finals. This is where your team needs you. And you're playing the defending champions. James Harden is nothing but an ISO player. He was that way in Oklahoma City. And because he put up so many shots and so many threes and so many points, he is probably going to wind up getting the MVP this year. And I say he shouldn't. How are you going to have someone like a James Harden or a Russell Westbrook, and I'm zoning in on James Harden right now, be the MVP of your league and he hadn't made his teammates better? The only reason the Houston Rockets won 65 games is because they were able to outscore everybody except the Golden State Warriors. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. All Mike D'Antoni preaches is offense. He does nothing about defense. Now, 2 occasions in the Western Conference Finals, you hold the highest scoring team to 92 and 94 points. And you come within an eyelash of unseating the Golden State Warriors. But that's all they had, an eyelash. And you allow Golden State to breathe in that third quarter when you were up by 17 at the end of 1, up by 11 at the end of 2. And you let Golden State breathe. And then the Warriors just simply turned it on. As my buddy Victor would say, they became a bunch of sling blades. And they were dropping threes like flies. You allowed them to breathe. As far as James Harden goes, there was no communication with his teammates. There was no communication on defense, and James Harden, I think, plays the worst defense. The only player that's worse on defense is LeBron James, in my opinion, or Russell Westbrook. See how they all intertwine together? You know, and Victor just sent me a text. He says, I've been begging you to go in on this. Well, Victor, you're getting your wish. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron James, and a lot of people are going to hate me saying this, but it's the truth, they do not make their teams better. Period. If James Harden made his teams better, they'd have blown the Warriors out in the Western Finals, given the fact that the Warriors were dealing with all kinds of injuries. They did not smell blood and allowed the Warriors to breathe. See, fans who casually watch the NBA don't look deeper into the subject. They look at stats, they look at triple-doubles, and they say, oh, James Harden had a triple-double in Game 1. He should have gotten some help. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It's the Western Conference Finals. If you're not prepared for the moment in Game 1, you certainly will not be prepared for the moment in Game 7. And come the third quarter in Game 7, the Houston Rockets were not prepared for the moment. James Harden was not prepared for the moment. As a team, the Houston Rockets missed 27 consecutive three-point field goals in Game 7. James Harden did not tell his team to do what it was supposed to do against Golden State, which is drive to the basket. Mike Lau just gave me a great point. No one plays defense in the NBA anymore. Last night is proof of that. If Cleveland played a minuscule amount of defense, we would have a tie series. Period. If Houston played a minuscule amount of defense, they would be the Western Conference representative. And I'll go one step further, and this is the chief reason why I don't like James Harden. If James Harden played a minuscule of a minuscule of a minuscule of defense in Game 7, Stephen Curry does not get a shot in the third quarter during that 33-point avalanche. But again, James Harden and the Rockets allowed the Warriors to breathe. Chris Webber said it best, and I'll never forget his statement. James Harden, in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, needed a legacy game. And Victor's going to be so proud of me when I bring up this. You know, like the one James Worthy played in Game 7 in 1988. You know, like the one Michael Jordan played in Game 5 in 1991. Well, hell, his legacy was already established in 1989 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'll touch that in a moment. James Harden needed a legacy game. You know, like Steph Curry gave us last night. You know, like Kevin Durant gave us in Game 5 last year. Steph Curry also. He needed that kind of game. You know, like Larry Bird in Game 7 against the Lakers in 1984. 2 years later against the Houston Rockets in a clinching game, dropping a triple-double. I've already mentioned the legendary Michael Jordan. Magic Johnson, same thing, 87 against Boston. James Harden needed that kind of game to elevate his teammates, and he didn't do it. This was one of the times where James Harden needed to put the team on his shoulders and continue to drive to the basket and penetrate that Golden State defense without a big available to them. Because remember, we barely saw JaVale McGee in the Western Conference Finals. We barely saw Zaza Pachulia in the Western Conference Finals. Steve Kerr decided to roll the dice and go quick, and it paid off. It paid off. When you're seeing Kevon Looney guard James Harden, and James Harden is so spooked that he hoists a three that missed badly, that ain't a legacy. Now let me move on to Russell Westbrook. And I truly cannot stand Russell Westbrook for the main reason I can't stand James Harden. Russell Westbrook does not make his teammates better. He is only a stat patter, and he only cares about himself. It's been that way basically for Russell Westbrook since 2014. Why do I bring this season up? 2014, 2015, Kevin Durant was injured. And it became Russell Westbrook's team. And Russell Westbrook, since it became his team, and Michael, I hope you listen to this point, since it became Russell Westbrook's team in the 2014-2015 season, Russell Westbrook has failed. Failed miserably. As I mentioned earlier, you need to be the kind of player, if you want to be an alpha male on a team, to make your teammates better. Michael Jordan did it. Larry Bird did it. Magic Johnson did it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars. Is this sinking in? Huh? I have yet to see Russell Westbrook, James Harden, or LeBron James, and I'll give LeBron James a wee bit of a pass, and I'll explain in a moment, have yet to play a legacy game in the playoffs. They have yet to play a legacy game in the playoffs. And as I told you in the last segment, LeBron James looked so pedestrian it wasn't even funny. He looked like one of the oldest players in the NBA. He had a phenomenal season. But back to my point about Westbrook before I digress. Westbrook does not make his teammates better. As a matter of fact, you know what Westbrook's legacy is? Running people out of town. Allow me to explain. James Harden left after 2012. Scott Brooks got fired. Serge Ibaka, adios. And most recently, Kevin Durant after 2016. People got mad at Kevin Durant for leaving when all Kevin Durant did was say, y'all, I'm being true to myself and I want a championship. How bad is it for Russell Westbrook? Consider this. They brought in an advanced age Carmelo Anthony and Paul George for their version of the Big Three. And all the OKC fans, including my buddy Trey Larkins, said, we have Golden State's number. Stick it up your ass. You didn't even see Golden State in the playoffs in 2018. Hell, you didn't even have a chance to see him in 2017. And you had played the worst defensive team in the league in the Houston Rockets. And you got blown out by them. Russell Westbrook does not care about his team, his community, or his teammates. I said it. I'm going to continue to say it. If that were the case, they'd have a few banners right now. And Clay Bennett, the owner, does not care about his team. Because if he cared about his team, he'd have found a way to keep them in Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. Did anybody hear what I said? Let me say it again. I hate and abhor the Oklahoma City Thunder for the reason of Clay Bennett. If Clay Bennett cared about his community, he would have kept them and found a way to keep them in Seattle. Michael Lyle, you hear that point? Then you bring in Russell Westbrook, an alpha male who drives to the basket 99 times, and yet when he needs to conserve his energy for the 100th time, he doesn't. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. And Paul George and Carmelo Anthony made the mistake of trying to conform to Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they all conform to each other. And it's probably the most beautiful basketball that you've seen in 20 years. Because Golden State actually plays defense. Golden State actually moves the ball. Golden State actually plays basketball the way it should be played. San Antonio Spurs, same thing. The young baby Chicago Bulls, same thing. Maybe the rest of the NBA, including Adam Silver and LeBron James, will take a blueprint and get some people around you that will play basketball. And I got another great point, courtesy of Michael Lau. Just like the Hartford Whaler fans, of which he is, they feel about Peter Carmanos, I hope I got that right, and I'm reading the text here. The Hartford Whaler fans feel about Peter Carmanos the same way the Seattle Supersonics fans feel about Clay Bennett, because Carmanos moved the team to Carolina and were called the Carolina Hurricanes, just like Clay Bennett moved the team to Oklahoma City and called them the Oklahoma City Thunder. What kind of is that? Oh, and on top of that, Mr. Clay Bennett had it ordered that no Seattle Supersonics history accompany them. For a while, it was a shared history, and it shouldn't be. It should not be. Russell Westbrook should not have gotten MVP last year for being a selfish player, for being a selfish, self-centered stat patter. And that triple-double that he averaged last year and the triple-double that he averaged this year was false. In the last game of the season, and listen to me carefully, and Victor, you know I'm a stat fool. I'm a stat maven. On the last game of the season this year, Russell Westbrook needed 16 rebounds to once again average a triple-double. Do you know he cared more about that than seeing his team get into a better position in the Western Conference? Everybody wants to award triple-doubles. Everybody wants to award stats. I got news for y'all. I have some news for you guys. And again, this is one man's opinion, but I'll say it again. Russell Westbrook should not have been awarded the most valuable player last year. Stats don't mean a damn thing when your team is sitting at home after the first round of the playoffs after getting knocked out by a team that is worse defensively than you. I'm sorry, did I say something that hurt a lot of people? Let me say it again. Russell Westbrook should not have even gotten a sniff of the MVP when you get bounced in the first round by a team that plays worse defense than you. Period. And as for the last game of this regular season, he got 20 rebounds. Oh, my God, Russell Westbrook got a triple-double for the second straight year. Shove it up your ass. How good did he make his team? Since it became Russell Westbrook's team, they have not won 50 games. Okay? Let me say it again. Oh, I heard a lot of people with that statement. Oh, yeah? Let me say it again. Let me say it again. Since Russell Westbrook became the focal point of the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have not won 50 games in a season. Period. Stephen Curry is the focal point of the Golden State Warriors, even though he has 3 All-Stars accompanying them. And in the last 4 years, and let me thank my good buddy Robert Cobb, a.k.a. the Dog Father, for this incredible stat. Catch the Inscriber magazine at theinscribermag.com, by the way. In this run of the Golden Empire, even with the focal point being either Stephen Curry or Kevin Durant, the Golden State Warriors have averaged an astounding, you ready for this number? 66 wins in this 4-year run. Even with this being their lowest at 58. This is their lowest win total of this 4-year run, 58 wins. If you want to be the alpha male, you make your teammates better. Russell Westbrook doesn't do it. James Harden doesn't do it. LeBron James doesn't do it. All they do is care about themselves. And Michael Lyle, I'm going to give you and Victor Lott and people who always have listened to me a treat. It goes a little something like this. LeBron James is the most mediocre player I have seen in the NBA in 15 seasons. I'm sorry, did I piss a lot of people off? Good, keep listening. There are some fundamental flaws with one LeBron James. He doesn't have a left hand. He doesn't have a post game. He can't hit free throws to save his life. And his footwork is atrocious. And yet the league allows this man to be hyped up in ways he should not be hyped up because he's not fundamentally sound. Now, I know the argument that's coming. Oh, they did the same for Michael Jordan. Yeah, Michael Jordan actually developed his game, stupid. Don't get it twisted. Michael Jordan had to prove himself, and I feel LeBron James has not proven himself. He has always gotten by on his incredible athleticism. Not basketball, but his incredible athleticism. That's how he has gotten by for 15 seasons. If LeBron had learned a post game, I would actually call him the most dangerous player in the NBA right now. Everybody want to make this debate between LeBron and Michael and use stats to back them up. That's bullshit. You want to know why Michael Jordan, I feel, is the greatest player of all time? Because he does something LeBron doesn't do. Michael plays defense. Matter of fact, I had a kid a few years ago ask me, and Victor was there when this happened. I was covering a baseball game. I had a kid come up to me and say LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Of course, that pissed me off, and I pulled my microphone out, and I said, "Hey, shorty, I dare you to say it to my face." So he comes up, and bless this kid's heart, he had a sheepish grin. He says, LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. I said, I think not. So the kid looks me in the eye, and he says, what does Michael have that LeBron doesn't have? I said, I'll give you two things. 3 more championships and a Defensive Player of the Year award. Not to mention 10 times on the all-defensive team. Talk to any of his legendary teammates, Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Jimmy Black, Kenny Smith. It wasn't the scoring that they praised Michael on at North Carolina. You know what they praised Michael on the most? His defense. And in 1988, he was elected the Defensive Player of the Year. Let me say that again for all you LeBron stans. And listen to me carefully. There is one thing that Michael has LeBron will never, ever, 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 ever have. And that is a Defensive Player of the Year award, which Michael garnered in 1988. Michael moved his feet. Bill Russell moved his feet. Wilt Chamberlain moved his feet. James Worthy, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. Shall I go on? Ron Harper moved his feet. Scottie Pippen moved his feet. All the players that I've mentioned, and I can go down the list and give you quite a few more. They all do something on defense LeBron doesn't do. They move their feet. They get into a better position defensively. Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, at points Steph Curry, at points Kevin Durant, Draymond Green. Am I making sense here? They move their feet. LeBron does not. Russell Westbrook does not. James Harden, don't get me started. Oh, I forgot I'm already started. Sorry about that. They move their feet. That is why I will never consider LeBron James as one of the greatest players in the game, because if there's something when I played basketball that I pride myself on, it's defense. Oh, by the way, speaking of Defensive Players of the Year, does this name ring a bell? How about Dennis Rodman? How about David Robinson? How about Tim Duncan? Huh? Ben Wallace, Dwight Howard. All have something LeBron James will never, ever have, a Defensive Player of the Year award. And Ben Wallace won it 3 times. Dwight Howard won it 4 times. So if y'all want to know a reason why I don't like LeBron James, I just gave you several of them. And in this year's NBA Finals, he's going to be as pedestrian as ever. He put this team together. He called for the trades for these teammates. He called for the trade of Isaiah Thomas to the Lakers. He called for Kevin Love to come to the Cavaliers. He called for J.R. Smith to come to the Cavaliers. And every teammate that LeBron James has had in a trade or move that has been forced by him has gotten worse. Rodney Hood, who saw garbage time last night, averaged 17 points in Utah. barely sees the ball now. Jordan Clarkson, a six-man dynamo for the Lakers, barely sees the ball now. Larry Nance Jr., defensive stalwart, can be a scoring machine when he wants to be. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You know why it's not going to happen? Because LeBron James continues to hog the ball. And as long as LeBron James continues to hog the ball, oh, did I go there? Let me go there again. As long as LeBron James continues to hog the ball, nobody that he brings in as a teammate will get better. In fact, I will go as far as to say, and Victor's been waiting for me to say this on air, Michael Lyle has been waiting for me to say this on air, and I'm going to go ahead and open my mouth and put it out there. And it goes a little something like this. And Victor, I hope you are proud of me listening in Chicago when I say this. The teammates that LeBron James have brought in during this false run to every finals the last 4 years have succeeded in spite of LeBron James and not with him. Michael Lyle, did you hear that? I'll say it again. All the teammates that have gone to the finals with LeBron, and I'll include his Miami years. Oh, I'm really going to piss some people off with this statement because I'm in the mood for it today. I'm in a mood. All teammates in LeBron's championship run in this 8 consecutive years of going to the NBA Finals, all the teammates that have played with LeBron, be it in Miami or Cleveland, have succeeded in spite of LeBron James and not with him. He forced Kyrie Irving out of Cleveland. And I will make the contention and will continue to make the contention that in 2016, if anyone deserved to be a unanimous finals MVP, it was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving did something LeBron didn't have the balls to do. Take the game-winning shot. And then last night happened. Now you know the argument that's going to happen. Oh, LeBron nearly had a triple-double last night, and they lost by 19. Tyronn Lue quit on the Cavaliers last night. He quit on LeBron James. Why do I say that? He cleaned out his bench with 5 minutes remaining in the game. He gave up on LeBron James. The team has given up on LeBron James. Where have we seen that before? 2010, Game 6, Eastern Conference semifinals in Boston. Every time Cleveland made a run, Paul Pierce and the Celtics had an answer. And this is when they had, some guy that I happen to love by the name of Rasheed Wallace. You can see the difference. You can absolutely see the difference when LeBron James is on the floor and when he's off of it. And I will illustrate this before I go to a break finally and come up for some air. I will illustrate this by using the second quarter of Game 1 as an example. When LeBron James finally went to the bench to rest late in the second period, Cleveland extended its lead. When LeBron James re-entered, that lead was wiped out, and a half-court heave by Steph Curry tied the score. Am I making my point clear? And before I go to break, I will say it again. And LeBron stands ain't going to like it, but I really don't care. The truth needs to be spoken, so let's do some inconvenient truth-telling about one LeBron James. And it goes like this, in a simple statement. In this 8-year run to the NBA Finals, the teammates LeBron James has had have succeeded in spite of him and not with him. And if Cleveland wants to get back into the finals, his teammates cannot be afraid of him. They can't shrink in the moment. They shrunk last year, and they're shrinking right now. And in honor of my buddy Michael Lyle and a certain broadcaster that we both know very, very well, Michael Lyle, it'll thrill me to say this. Back after this.
Hey fans, spring is here and Cleaver Supplements invites you to spring into action to get in the best shape of your life. Our supplements and products will help you do just that. You had a good winter season, and now it's time to show off and keep that great shape, great attitude, and work on getting even better for your life. Our Fat Burner, Super Swole Serum, and other products will keep you on track to a healthier and happier you. Do it for your family, do it for your friends, but most of all, do it for you. For more information, visit us online at cleaversupplements.com. Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough.
This is the King of Connecticut, Matt Granahan. And there's a new sheriff in town and a new king of morning talk. So move over, Howard Stern, Brian Snow, the Snowman. Snowman in the morning. Catch the show every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern.
Some energy drinks want to scare you. Some even want to bully you around. And the others, they're just blowing smoke. Packed with vitamins B3, B5, B6, and B12, the new HiQ energy drink comes available in 4 exciting flavors. Skyberry Fusion, Apple, Coconut Fruit Punch, and Lemon Lime. Natural caffeine, no preservatives, no crash, no bull. HiQ energy drink. Wings are for birds.
This show is sponsored by Unforgettables. Unforgettables creates detailed hand-painted baseballs for every baseball fan. Check them out at unforgettables.com.
In the market for a great new Fiat vehicle? Bob Ross Fiat is the award-winning dealership that always offers drivers in Centerville the very best in Fiat cars and Fiat service. Our sporty and stylish models continue to distance themselves from the competition by bringing more excitement and fun to all drivers in the United States. We are the Fiat dealer Centerville drivers trust, and we also happily serve our friends and neighbors in Dayton and Cincinnati. We look forward to meeting you in person. Visit us at 91 Loop Road in Centerville or call us at 888-854-5078. You can also visit us online at fiatusaofcenterville.com.
Welcome to the Butcher Box. Our beef is exactly the way that nature intended. 100% grass-fed and grass-finished, antibiotic and hormone-free, and never taken from feedlots. Just 100% healthy meat. We offer 2 to 5 day delivery to the contiguous 48 states. The meat is flash frozen at the peak of freshness, packed with dry ice, and shipped directly to your door. The beef is sourced from a collection of small grass-fed farms. It is of the utmost quality and tastes incredible. Our steak won a blind taste test cook-off with the Today Show in 2015. So for 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef, organic chicken, and heritage-bred pork delivered for free on your schedule for less than $6 per meal, Visit arenasportsnet.com and click on the Butcher Box logo, and if you do so, you will receive 10% off your first order, or give Butcher Box a call at 855-981-8568.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
That's what? Are you kidding me? Need a little excitement?
You know what?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
One word describes her besides friend and fellow business visionary. Authorpreneur. What do I mean about that? I'm going to let her explain. Tennille Jackson now joins me on the HiQ Audio Hotline. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I am doing well. Great to talk to you today.
Absolutely the same here.
Now, I love the word authorpreneur. I know it's a spinoff from entrepreneur, but instead of me trying to explain it, I figured I'd let the person who coined the phrase explain it.
Well, you know what? I have to be totally honest. I did not coin it. I don't know who did. I just used the mess out of it, right? So what entrepreneur, what it refers to is really just that, what you said. Once an author writes a book, they have in turn created a product, and depending on how far you go with it, you created a business. So now you are in the business of selling books. So whether you want to take that and simply sell books or become a speaker or a coach, it's so many different things that you can do once you become a published author, and hence the term authorpreneur. You are both an author and an entrepreneur all in one.
Well, that will make me a sports talkpreneur because I've been doing this show 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in October. I love the term. I love when you come on your Facebook Live and do your broadcast and just encourage people. How did you get started in being an author? What was the door that was kicked open for you to become an author?
You know what? I actually was going back to school to get my master's degree. True story. I woke up one day. It was really just divinely inspired. It was one night I was kind of unctioned. I was woken up and just prompted to write this book. My first book was called Pleasing Your Partner, A Spiritual Guide to Happiness. And happiness actually is an acronym that stands for humility, assurance, peace, prosperity, integrity, newness, endurance, submission, and strength. And so the premise of the book is how you take those 9 traits and use it to work your relationship. And the thing about it, it's not even necessarily you don't have to be in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, you can still use those traits to get the best out of yourself so that when you are in a relationship, you'll get the best out of your relationship.
That is absolutely wonderful. 2012, the Chicago Children's Museum at Navy Pier featured you in Celebrating Authors. Take us through that experience.
Oh, my God. It was crazy, Brian, because I had no clue. 2012 was actually a really crazy year for me because I was also celebrated by CBS Chicago that year, and I had no idea. I didn't know, like, the president of Chicago Writers Association actually called me to tell me about, he was congratulating me on the article, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So he sent it to me. I didn't even know about it. And so later that year, you see what I'm saying? Later that year, I got a call from somebody from Navy Pier, and they were like, well, you know what, we want to honor you. We're doing our African-American Heritage Month or something like that, and they were celebrating African-American authors, and they wanted for me to be one of the featured authors. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was incredible, because, and when you're an entrepreneur, you're not really doing it for the accolades. You're doing it because it's your passion. It's what you love. And so when you find out that other people are starting to, see you, they're watching out for you, it's really kind of surreal. And so that's how 2012 was for me.
I can so relate to that because anybody who has heard me do play-by-play over the years knows 2012 I was covering Marist High School, and they had not one but 2 miracle finishes. And the first one, I didn't think anything would come from it. Anyone knows me, I'm in the moment. When I'm doing my play-by-play, if an exciting play happens, I describe it accordingly. Well, it got so exciting, and I was freelancing for High School Cube at the time, that the finish of that game against Curie, and no one, I got an email late that Sunday night, that Deadspin got a hold of the call. That Monday morning, I get an email from High School Cube saying, Brian, your call is on the way to ESPN. I said, oh, that's nice.
Wow.
I fell back to sleep, and then 5 minutes later, I woke up and said, what? And that's...
Exactly. Like, what just happened? Wait, what? Like, the ESPN? Yeah, no, because that's exactly how I felt when I got the call to say that CBS Chicago had featured me. Like, wait, who? Wait, CBS Chicago? When did they even see me? Like,
right.
You don't know, and that's why it's always so important to put your best foot forward
yes.
at all times, whether you feel like it or whether you don't, because you never know who's watching, or in your case, who's listening. You
yes.
never know.
Well, when I got the word that my clip was going to ESPN, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to play it a couple of times on SportsCenter and be done with it. Yeah, then I started getting a flood of tweets and messages saying your call made the SportsCenter top 10, and I'm going, are you serious right now?
Wow.
So what what happens? All my friends turn it on, and I described it best when it happened. My computer turned upside down with messages.
Wow.
And it's like,
yeah.
This just can't be happening. Then the request for radio interviews started, and when those requests start, they don't stop.
Absolutely. You got to get ready to ride the wave, and that's why I always tell people, you don't have time to prepare for success.
No.
Like, you got to go in knowing that you want to be successful, because the fact is that you don't know when it's going to hit. Like, you might have this plan, and you might say, okay, within the next 3 years, the next 5 years, but the fact of the matter, it could happen in that first year, or it might take 10 years, but whenever it happens, you have to be ready to ride that wave.
And the wave for me kept going. 3 days later, when Marist took down Bogan, and Bogan was another highly ranked team in the area, and I had another great call, and I will live out a promise to the fans. I'll play both of those later in the week. And then Dan Patrick's producer emailed me saying, you're coming on the show in 20 minutes. We need some information for you. And I'm going, hey, what?
Wow.
Wait. Dan Patrick, somebody I had admired in terms of sports talk for 20 years. I'm going to talk to him. What?
Yeah. Yes.
And to this day, it's been 6 years. To this day, I still get calls about that interview. I get calls about those interviews. I just had 2 schools over in Northwest Indiana request me to call their games, one of which I'm going to honor. It's like you said. Once that wave hits, it's crazy.
It is, and you really have to be ready for it. And sometimes you're not, and it's not because of, lack of preparation or even skill set on your part. Sometimes life situations don't line up. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just not in a predicament where your situation, whether it's a financial situation or a family situation or even a health situation, sometimes you're not in a predicament where you can ride the wave. And so the sad part to it is that there are times where you may only get one wave. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not able to ride that wave, you don't know that you will get another one. So you just really have to believe that, you know what, if this is meant for me, then when it's supposed to happen, everything will line up right, and it will be able to happen, and I will be able to take advantage of it. And so definitely kudos to you, and I am so proud of you for everything that you've been doing. Because I say, even though you do sports, you are always able to intertwine so many other things, and you still hit so many different audiences just beyond the sports audience, I
appreciate that. 2013 saw Toneel also become the founder of Authors Promoting Success. And I remember the day that this hit, because we talked about it when you were nervous for a bit, and then you said, the heck with it, let's go with it. 2 years later, you open your bookstore, APS Books and More, deemed as the home to the independent author. Take me through the process, or take me through the process of what led you to start APS.
You know what, Brian? So the organization, that was really something that came from all these other authors that I had known, right? So when we were talking about the first book. So when the first book came out, I literally did tour the country. I went to all these different cities and states from, like your Michigans and Kansas and Memphis and, Dallas and Houston and Indiana. I was kind of everywhere, Ohio, and I met all these different authors, and I would always just share my experiences, and a lot of people were like, this is your first book and you're an award-winning author coming out the door. And I'm like, I cannot take credit for that. To God be the glory for that. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And so I would meet all these different authors and they would ask me, what my experiences were and how I did this, that, and the other. And I would just freely answer them. And I didn't know that was something that was not, in the norm. I didn't know that was not what everybody did. And so I had so many different authors from different states that were like, Tennille, you need to start your own organization, because there's so many authors that could benefit from the information that you have, from, the skills that you provide, that all of these different things, you need to have your own organization. And so that's really what kind of initially prompted me to start to be the founder of Authors Promoting Success, because that's what it's about. When we are together, our mantra is we are better together. And I'm just not one, know me, I'm not one that feels like I'm better than anybody else. And I really believe that we can all benefit from each other. And so from there, it was kind of natural progression of things, because 2014 is when I did the publishing company. But then in 2015, again, I cannot take credit for it. I really believe that God led me to open up a bookstore, and it was not to be a mainstream bookstore. Even now I describe my bookstore more so as a book boutique. And so we don't house mainstream authors. I don't do erotica, I don't do street lit. I really provide a platform for indie authors. That's what my calling, if you want to call it like that, that's what my calling is. I am able to provide all these different platforms for indie authors to gain exposure and achieve success in the literary industry. That's really what I do.
And you do a wonderful job. Let me tell y'all how Tennille and I met. I was invited to a Chicago Black Wall Street meeting. And just by chance, it was the only one that I went to. And that's where I met TJ. And TJ and I started putting our heads together going, there's got to be something better than this. I mean, nothing against the organization, but what were they actually promoting in terms of independence and in terms of, having your own business? And that's where Tennille and I started putting our heads together going, okay, what can we do? How can we, make an impact? And I've tried for 3 years to get TJ on the show, folks, but she's been so busy. I've been so busy. You guys know I keep an ignorant play-by-play schedule in excess of 100 games a year, and now she's finally on the show with me this morning. And the day that I think I can honestly say, the day that we met and we had that conversation outside of the office of what more can we do, kickstarted everything.
Yeah. I will have to agree with that, because, and sometimes that really is the purpose of things. We may have both, independently wanted to come to this event for a particular reason, not knowing that the reason why we were there was for us to meet each other.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times that's just how things happen. You think that you're coming for one particular thing, and true purpose ends up revealing itself. So I think that was the case with the whole Black Wall Street encounter. I really do.
I really believe that too. I remember the day you opened your store and how excited you were about it. And how's that going? How's the feedback been since you opened it?
You know what? It has been crazy, Brian, because we were in Ford City Mall in Chicago for right at 2 years, and then I ended up moving. Without going to the long, drawn-out story, I get an abrupt letter giving me 12 days saying, you know what, we are changing our vision. We no longer want to deal with indie stores. So Ford City has sent out letters to every independent store.
Oh, wow.
They decided that they want to get rid of all of them. They only wanted corporate partners. And it was very abrupt, but you know what? I had such a peace inside of me, and I tell this to everybody, I didn't know what my next move was going to be. I really thought that I was done with the bookstore thing, and I was fine with it because I'm like, because for everybody that talks about nobody reads anymore and your bookstore isn't going to thrive. Like, we didn't stop because we were bankrupt. We were, there was an abrupt stop to the movement beyond us. And so anyway, that was in January of 2017. And when I tell you the following month or so, I ended up getting my new location, which is on 26 in Lawndale. I'm 2653 South Lawndale. And I really love it because I'm an independent establishment now. And so now I'm more of a fixture in the community as opposed to just being one of many stores in the mall. And so we moved there officially. We opened April 1st last year. So we've been in the new place for a little bit over a year, and we still got some expansion things that's happening. I have not officially announced it to the public yet, but we will be doing a launch party of sorts on July 14th this year. And again, you're kind of exclusive to get it because I haven't even announced it yet, but we are expanding because when I first got the building, I just had downstairs. Now I have the entire building. So there are going to be some other things I'll be doing upstairs, and so we're going to launch it officially July 14th. So I would say things with Authors Promoting Success are going well. The organization itself is thriving. We got so many different authors coming on board. The publishing company is doing well. The bookstore is doing well. We're in the midst of planning for the second annual awards gala. That's going to be Thursday, August 23rd. So it's really just, it's prospering, and it's a blessing.
Every event that you have, you send it to me. I'll read it on the air and get some people to come out, and I'd like to come out for that christening on July 14th.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. I definitely want you to be there. It is going to be kind of like a chic type of thing. So you probably will just wear a tie anyway, but it's going to be.
You know me.
So,
You know me.
Summertime, we're doing it. It's gonna be like a adult type of a thing. So like when I did the gala, it was at night, but it was a family oriented. This one is gonna be adults only. It's gonna be a swanky type of event, and so absolutely, I'm gonna get you that information so you can come. I would love for you to be there.
Man, it's such love. I appreciate it. Neil Jackson joining me here on Snowman in the Morning. Finally. Y'all heard it.
Yeah.
Got a big event coming on. Finally, I got her on the show, and y'all heard it. Big event coming on July 14th. Let me thank Neil Jackson for coming on to the show, and an absolute thrill it is. Unfortunately, she had to postpone the event scheduled for July 14th, but she does have a gala coming up, and we will do a live show from there. We're just trying to get all of the trying to get all of the particulars in place where we can bring that to you. Follow us on social media at SIT Morning on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can catch us every day beginning tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. That's the time slot where I've had the most success, and that's what I'm going to go with. And let me close with a final word. And Josh, my wonderful producer, I know you're going to get mad at me for this, but I've got to get this off my chest, and I've got to say it. He gave me the advice not to make things personal. DJ Commando, a.k.a. Troy Williams Sr., my other fabulous producer and the man in charge of KNHB, just give me a couple of minutes to get this off my chest so I can clear the air, number one, and number two, really refocus on getting the show to the next level. I've done this show now for almost 5 years, and when I was on at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, like I said, that's where I had the most success. But I've also said several times over that inconsistency has absolutely killed me. And I'm no longer afraid to admit that. There have been several things, some of my doing, some of other people's doing, and some of nature's doing, that has not allowed me to be consistent for a while doing this show 5 days a week. But I am going to take the bulk of the blame for that. And the reason I'm taking the bulk of the blame for it is because I'm the one that created the show. I am the one that put the blueprint together to bring you guys great sports talk 5 days a week. And I want to bring you guys great sports talk 5 days a week, and I'm going to. But again, as I stated a few moments ago, inconsistently has absolutely killed me. And that is my fault. Period. Point blank, end of story. It took a message from quite a few of the haters that I've gotten over the years to tell me, oh, you'll never be picked up by a big station because you're not on every day. I went to sleep and I woke up and I thought about it and I said, you're right. I can't miss anymore. And the one thing that I am teaching myself to do is realize what it costs me when I do miss a show. Because you see, within a month's time, I have a goal of making $1,000 per show. That's in a month's time. But then again, one of my high school classmates reminded me, don't make it about the money. That's been a wrong focus of mine as well. Make it about your passion and your love for what you do. And she's absolutely right. I got to do this the correct way, and I'm going to do this the correct way. This is all about loving what I do, wanting to do what I do for a living, and I'm no longer proving people wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm proving myself right. That I can do this, that I will do this, that I will grind every day towards the first of many, many goals that I have. I often close the show with, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Well, my dreams scared me so much that I got ran off. I fell back into old bad habits. And it forced me financially to take a side job so I can make sure bills are paid and that I'm staying in money. But now, with the inspiration of some people that have spoken to me recently, including a pretty lady down in Georgia named Henny, who's become a big fan, they said, don't make it about the money. Make it about what you love to do. So be it. Stanley Cup Finals will be wrapped up tomorrow. I got some more thoughts on the NBA and social justice warriors. You better beware. Old Snowman's coming for you tomorrow, and that's my lead. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. It's in you, and now it's in me. Talk to you tomorrow. Snowman out.